Hi, welcome back. This is Charlie. We are now moving on to our next signature for our album, Brocante by Stamperia. I wanted to show you something I did before I move on to this signature. I came back to this and it lacked something, so I used one of my dies and I cut a die. It actually goes the whole length, but I only wanted this piece. I didn't want this sticking out very far, so I tucked a good portion of it up underneath there. And I think that it helped to break up some of the muted tones in here. So I'm going to kind of be carrying this theme throughout. If you have a die or a punch that you want to use, find something that's going to look pleasing to your eye. And this is what I have set up on this next signature. Let's get back here to the base. I'm going to move kind of this aside just a little bit. The base on this is measuring 9 1/4 across by 8 3/4 in the height. Now, if you're new to how I put my albums together, this is the page. But I do some build-ups on my page, so I will always leave a little extra room here so that when I do the build-up, it will help absorb some of this little spacing here, and it will still allow me to turn the page. And then with the build-up, with the page closed, then it's going to allow some room with this big 5/8 inch of a gusset. So that is my methodology to that. All right, so what I'm doing here on the bottom, I kind of bring my pieces back in here. So I'm making a pocket across the bottom. I'm using some of the scraps. And again, to kind of break up the soft muted tones here, I am putting in a little brown accent. I'll show you what it looks like on this side. So it's curved and it comes across, but I didn't want all of this here showing up above it. I just wanted this piece. So that's all I've done. So your die or your punch does not have to be that big. What does this end up measuring? This measures 6 inches. So you just punch or cut your die and then just kind of center it in there as best as you can. Now, the other thing I'm using is the set of stacked photos, which is the one of the chipboard elements. And then I'm using one of the chipboard rosebuds, excuse me. And then I fussy cut out this pretty little pink flower and some leaves. And I'm going to kind of stack them in here like so. So I'm going to go ahead and get this taped. I meant to have had that done beforehand in an attempt to keep my videos shorter. So I do apologize. Okay. Just gonna set this in here, and then I'm going to glue this piece in. My glue's not coming out as smoothly as I'd hoped. It must be getting time to clean the tip out in there. All right, and then I'm gonna center this in here. Just a little bit off kilter. And then I'm going to put these in. I want that one right there. And then I want this one right here. And then I'll play around with this till I get this right where I want it. There we go. Okay. So then I want to work with the right side panel first. You're going to cut a piece. It's going to obviously be 8 3/4, but it will be 5 inches wide. You're going to score it at 1/2, and you're going to score it at 5/8. And then you're going to run your tape, and we're going to go ahead and put this in place. I need to get these two down because we got to set in a magnet. Now I push back to reinforce that gusset that we're making right there. And now we're going to work with the right side cardstock panel. This one is going to measure 8.5 inches by the same height. You're going to score it at 1/2, and you're going to score this at 5/8 as well. And we're going to go ahead and put this in here. And in case this is your first time following one of my videos, when I'm working with a 1/8 of an inch gusset, I will always bring the pattern paper right up to the 1/2 inch score line so that the gusset is then standing up, reinforcing it. So it's standing up for me here in this manner. Now we're going to set the magnet. Now I already put one magnet on, and I'm just going to pull the tape off. These are basic gray magnets that I'm using. Now when I put this down, I want to make sure that these are even and my end gussets are standing up nice and tall, and then I'm going to just push. Okay. Now over here, I cut the piece that had this configuration on it. And it had the teddy bear with the hat boxes and the bird, and then I cut the panels based on how I wanted them to fit. So this piece here, and you can, on the reverse side, it had these images, but this is the side I want to work with. This is going to go in right here. And then I took one of the larger chipboard pieces, one of the lamp elements, and it's just going to go down here as a decorative piece. So I'm going to go ahead and get this on. Oh, the glue's flowing a little bit better. And again, I am inking. I wanted to bring a richness in, because I'm playing with some different tones here. I wanted to bring some richness in, so I am using distressed ink vintage photo. You can see I use it a lot. I stick my pad on the top of it, can hardly read what it is anymore. All right, so then I'm going to put this element down. And it's just simply for decoration. It's not a tuck. I don't think it would work well as a tuck, because you're securing the space, and that's going to leave this here very loose. Okay. And then I already cut the inside panels. Now, what I used was this 12 by 12 sheet. And I wanted this beautiful image over here, and then this is going to come on the inside here. So that the beauty, and I'll get to this in just a second as to why, but I want to go ahead and get this down. So the reverse side of this has all the wording throughout. So I am just going to glue this down. I think this is such a pretty piece of paper. And then on this side, I took one of the tags, cut it out, and I mounted it on that chocolate brown cardstock that I'm using so that I've got some bold contrast. And that's going to come down here as a tuck. Come in about 1/4 of an inch on each side. And then we have a nice tuck going on right there. Now we're going to scoot on over, and we're going to place this piece. We'll get to the outside in just a moment, but we're going to place this piece down. Now I have a magnet here. It's a large piece. I'm going to put some tape. So if you will bear with me. I have a funny feeling well, let's just hope I don't have to get into that. I like to tape the papers down that are up against a magnet so that if I have to get to that magnet, I can by lifting the tape so that I don't have to destroy the whole design. And I glued down, it looks like one of them. Oh well. I'm hoping I don't have to get back into it. And I'm, not that I do, but I have had on an occasion where I needed to adjust how a magnet was laying. Best laid plans, sometimes they don't always work out the way you want them to be. Almost. Got it. We're just about there. All right, now on this page, I am going to incorporate another large tuck for you. Now, I found this in my scraps. I think this is so beautiful. I wanted to use it. It's going to help break up some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And then I'll tape the other sides. Okay, give this a good burnish here. Now we're going to take this up. And then I'm going to, when I'm setting this down, I'm mindful that I have a gusset here and I have a score line, so when I put that down, I want to make sure that I am just snuggling up to this side of it. Okay, so that would be your inside. You have a tuck, you've got a pocket, you have another pocket. That's going to close. Now we're going to get to the front. So you had this piece that had the teddy bear and the hat boxes, and I went in and I carefully cut them out. I mounted both of them on that chocolate brown cardstock that I'm using, and then mounted them on some pop-ups because I wanted to give some depth and a little bit of color to the front of this. So if you do not want to do this, that is totally fine. You can just use this page and set it just the way that it is. But if you like to kind of fussy cut and have some different depth, then that's what I did, is that I fussy cut around these, mounted on chocolate cardstock, mounted it then on some pop-ups, and now I'm just going to pop them in place. Now, if you don't have pop-ups, you can use leftover chipboard pieces, glue them in place. But I would ink some of the edges so that the chipboard, brown chipboard, doesn't show. I'm using that big white piece in the center, so it's not going to show. But when I just made a major mistake. Gosh darn it. Okay. I thought I already had this down. I just blew it. Oh, and I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to have to lift these very carefully. Anyway, as I was saying, when you move about the page and you turn it, I don't like to see white pop up or brown edges of chipboard. I want to see nothing but the black. That's why I use black. All right, so now that I've got that tragedy handled, let's, that bottle's empty. It's just kind of flopping around. I apologize, you can hear that. Okay, so let's get in here. What a goofy girl. I'm just going to tape around the edges. And then I'll put this piece down, and then I'll put the teddy bear back in place. But I'm going to tape the edges, and then I'm going to put glue around the cutouts so that they are sticking to the outer part of the to the cardstock. If I can get get my tongue untied. All right. I'm not going to take the tape off yet because I'm going to use it as my balancing act here for getting things straight. Ah, there we go. Come on. Now we'll put the teddy bear in. That was so funny. Okay, I'll show you what I mean when you're turning the page. I don't want to see anything in there that is contrast to what I'm trying to display, so I like to use black under there. So the center of this is white, but the pieces on the edge are all going to be in black. It's just that I had a lot of this left over, so I'm using it. Okay. Now we'll set the bird back in place. Okay, so there we go. A little bit of depth, some color. We've got ourselves a big pocket here. We have ourselves a pocket, a tuck, a nice little element. And now we're going to tape the back so we can go ahead and get it in our album. And then a couple of strips down the center. Oh, I pulled that too quick. All right, so this is ready to go in the album. And I want to put something in here so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is my edge of the page. This is my signature. And I want to make sure that the 1/8 of an inch gusset that I made is kind of close to the edge. And then that leaves me with about 1/4 of an inch over here for this page to turn. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out, and I'm going to watch my bottom. I usually like to turn this so I can see 3 of the sides. take off the rest of it. Now when I lay this down, I want to once again make sure that my gusset that I made is laying flat and tall and that it didn't slide and get sloppy. And then the same repeat over here. Make sure that it's standing up tall. I'm not worried about the wrinkle because once I press it in, it'll be just fine. And I was hesitant, but I really love this brown because there's brown in this. So this just kind of helps to let these other elements that otherwise would get lost on this paper, the stitching, this I think helps to make them pop. So there you have it. That is your page 1 in your album. And please come back for the second page. See you then.